Happy New Year and welcome to the Visionary Leaders Collective podcast. I'm Aisha Harley, one of the founders, and we are absolutely delighted to have all of you with us today. We gather every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you happen to miss our live session, you can always catch the recording on your preferred podcast platform. For a complete list of our community offerings, visit www.hellovisionary.life. You can also connect with us on Instagram, YouTube, and all of your favorite podcast channels. Your 5-star rating on this podcast means the world to us, and it truly helps others find us. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Ariana Harley along our esteemed healthcare practitioner panel, Louise Rose, naturopathic doctor, Mica, naturopathic doctor and licensed acupuncturist, and Will Wan, licensed acupuncturist. Together, they will lead us on an insightful journey focusing on oregano, the oil of humility and non-attachment. They'll be shedding light on its physical, emotional, and energetic applications, essentially compiling a comprehensive A to Z library of essential oil wisdom that can be found on our team website. Ariana, I will pass the call over to you.
Hi, hello everyone. So wonderful to see the faces I can see, and I hope this reaches you in good spirits. Oregano is an oil that I'm really excited to talk about today. When I think of oregano, the thing that comes in my mind every time is mighty oregano. And when oregano came through, and I was like, what should we do for the new year? And I was a little more lofty, like, oh, maybe an inspirational oil or a citrus. I got oregano, and it was like, me, that's it, done, no question, no argument. I'm showing up and I'm here, and that's how it's gonna be. And that's definitely oregano's energy. So let me bring up our keynote. And while I do that, if you have oregano, this is an oil that you want to be very respectful with and mindful of how you use it and approach it. And if you are not, it will let you know right away with no qualms. So put it, I wouldn't put the oil on your nose. I'm asking you to smell it. Everyone else already got it out, but just be mindful. You might not want to put your nose on the little plastic part. But just take some long and deep inhales of oregano. And if you were going to find words to describe the aroma that you're experiencing, how would you explain it? How would you describe it? And you can type that into the chat. And then here, let me get our oregano keynote. If you are with us in the podcast, I will be verbally speaking everything that we're sharing as well, but you also have a visual here if you are on the webinar. So as Aisha mentioned, oregano is the oil of humility and non-attachment. And I think this is a beautiful way. If you're listening to this live, we are in the year 2024, and it's a new year. And I was just listening to a little bit of the astrology, and there's a lot of Capricorn influence, and oregano and Capricorn go hand in hand to me. I feel like they're both very similar energies, and a wonderful way to bring the new year in. And some of what the astrology was saying was leaving a legacy and doing work in this world that we may not in our physical bodies see, but that it will be appreciated for future generations. And I just want to remind all of us that when we're working with the plants in accordance to nature, we are given gifts back, and we are also stewards of the earth. And I think that that is a responsibility that I embrace wholeheartedly. So I'm going to start off with, I don't normally always do this, but with oregano, I'm going to start off with the cautions, because if you're getting it out and using it, as I've mentioned, you want to be really mindful. It is hot. It is spicy. If you put it on topically, it can feel like a burning sensation in some sensitive areas. It can even irritate the skin. Um, I invite everyone at the end of the call, we're going to have a Q&A, maybe think up some oregano stories that you have experienced in your life. There's always a good chuckle. Often we just shared one at the beginning of this call. And that's because if you use this and you're not aware of how to use it, you can have some pretty intense responses. I would recommend, I have had it in water, but I would recommend a gel cap. Um, it so I will read the cautions. There's a possible skin sensitivity. I would say there's a definite skin sensitivity with it. You want to keep this oil out of the reach of children and young ones. If you're pregnant or nursing or under doctor's care, consult your physician. You're going to want to avoid contact with your eyes, your inner ears, and any sensitive areas. Um, Again, suggested oral use, I like to use it in a veggie cap. And diluting it 1 to 3 is a great rule of thumb for topical application. And it's not recommended for those who have blood clotting disorders. And then I'm going to hand it over. We always break our calls down to a physical, emotional, and energetic component, the mind, body, and spirit in these calls. And so we're going to start off talking about some of the more physical uses, although we know these are always interrelated. And I'm going to hand it off to Louise, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about the chemistry of oregano, and then also why we might want to use this plant and this oil for our bodies.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ariana. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here and talking about oils with my favorite people and learning and sharing and generally just appreciating being part of this community. I love working with essential oils personally and in my practice, and I love studying them from all these different lenses. So one way that we learn about oils is through the chemistry. And oregano is really high in a main chemical component called carvacrol. So carvacrol is a phenol. Phenol is for those chemistry buffs, is something that has a benzene ring with a hydroxy attached to it, an OH attached to it. And other oils that are high in phenols are things like clove, cinnamon, other spicy oils. So you're starting to get the picture that these oils that are high in phenols tend to be skin irritants, but they also have some other commonalities, like they're very strong antimicrobials. So that refers to any kind of microbe, whether it's a bacterium, a fungus, a virus, a parasite, anything like that. They're very strong protectors. They also are very strong anti-inflammatory activity, antioxidant activity. If some of you have been with doTERRA long enough to hear some of our introductory calls, you might hear about, actually, you can go back to the last one just for another sec. Thanks, Ariana. You might hear about the amazing benefits of clove oil being really high in antioxidants on the ORAC scale, is how we measure antioxidant capacity. So, and then also these oils that are high in phenols tend to be analgesic, which is another way of saying like numbing or pain relieving. So you can kind of think of in a way that skin irritant is also numbing the pain and causing circulation, and we'll get into that further. So oregano is really high in carvacrol, which is a phenol. Other phenols are eugenol and thymol, and oregano also has some thymol in it. Clove is really high in eugenol, and cinnamon leaf and tulsi are also high in eugenol. So you can think of that sort of spiciness. But thymol and carvacrol are really our biggest antimicrobials in our medicinary. Thymol tends to have an affinity for the lungs, and carvacrol has an affinity for the urinary tract. Although, as we go to the next slide, you will see that carvacrol is very effective in many different areas. So I think of, in terms of organ affinities, I think of oregano is going to be supportive for the lungs, respiratory health, digestive health, and in a strange way, reproductive health, which surprised me, honestly, because it's not something I would normally think of, but that's one of the reasons I love doing these calls, because I learned so much. So oregano has such a strong history of use as a culinary herb and as a medicinal herb. It's been used in traditional folk medicine as a protective herb, as a celebratory herb, as a way to preserve our foods, because before we had refrigeration and other kinds of ways to preserve our foods, we relied on our spices and whatnot to help with that. So oregano is really, really useful for that. As an anti-inflammatory, we can bring it in into rotation for that. And people might be asking, well, if it's so hot and so spicy, what's the best way to use this? Actually, before I get into that, I want to read you. So we address the chemistry, and another way that we learn about oils is through direct download. So sitting with the oil and hearing the message from the plant. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about my meditation with oregano oil. So I felt a spicy, sweet, earthy, pungent fragrance on the nasal mucosa. I felt my heart rate increase and my blood circulate as if there was radiation from deep within, radiating heat, pushing toxins and pathogens out and purifying the blood. So that's sort of like an overarching theme, I would say, of oregano is it's going to be circulating, it's spicy, it's hot, and that's how I believe it is moving things out. It's killing things, it's making the impure pure, it's strong, it has this strong circulating solar energy. Later in my notes, I noticed that it would be good for working with our shadow self and illuminating dark places, bringing movement and circulation to our deepest secrets and cleansing parasitic attachments. So when we think of the characteristics of plants and oils, we want to match them with the person who needs that kind of medicine. And with this heat and this circulating and this like strong, powerful oil that we have with oregano, we wouldn't want to match that with somebody who is already overheated and dry themselves. So I think of a person who would benefit from oregano as somebody who might have sort of long-term, well, you could use it with an acute illness. It would be really great as an acute illness to really help if there's some sort of infection or lung issue or digestive issue, to kill and take care of that. But in a chronic long-term person who might tend to be weaker, poor circulation, basically doesn't have the vital force to push out those microbes or those toxins, you're going to want to work gently and slowly with oregano and maybe pulse it in. And I'm curious to hear from others on the call their thoughts on this. So for instance, in a capsule, you could put a couple drops of oregano, rosemary, and melissa, and then maybe fill the rest of the cap with fish oil as a way to dilute it so it doesn't just burn in your tummy. But maybe do that for 5 days out of the month. Sometimes people can if they use oregano too long, we're going to change the microbiome, and we really want to be stimulating and then letting the body respond, and then stimulating and letting the body respond. And I have used this formula with patients around the full moon sometimes. So sometimes there are bugs or parasites that tend to surface and get noisy around the full moon. So you can do 2 drops each of oregano, rosemary, and melissa in a gel cap for 5 days, maybe 2 days before the full moon, on the full moon, 2 days after, or however that works for you. Start slow and listen to your body, because it is very stimulating, very circulating, and very yang. Let's see. I think I've covered basically everything.
You all set?
And I'm really anxious to hear from the rest of the presenters. So I'll pass the mic to the next person. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. So I'm going to move into, excuse me, the emotional uses. Rule of thumb, if you want to change your mood and your mind, use the essential oils aromatically. It works very quickly. So why would you want to bring in the smell of oregano? If you wanted to promote willpower, courage, self-confidence, it's incredibly supportive in times of apathy, loss of motivation, times of self-neglect. If you're just feeling just kind of blue about life and don't have a lot of oomph, it supports individuals in times of pessimism. It's very good for energetic boundaries. It stimulates alertness, and you can use it in times of emotional and mental burnout. And I wanted to read, I'm going to share this book. It's called Gifts of the Essential Oils by Adam Bartlett and Vanessa Jean Basgrello Ovens. And it's a really fun book. It also comes with some cards if you like that. But oregano in this book says, "My gift to you is breakdowns and breakthroughs." Oregano can be called on to help settle conflicts, eliminating bullish or pig-headed behaviors. He is an oil to balance the throat chakra, which governs your self-expression as well as the ability to consider the thoughts and the feelings of others. Oregano shifts any refusal to hear another's perspective without judgment, brings in the remembrance that everyone has their own opinion and that all opinions are valid. Oregano gives the ability to ruminate over others' opinions, consider if they are in alignment with your core values, and either integrate them or respectfully reject them. Oregano inspires agility of the mind and challenges the open-hearted to contemplate, what if I'm wrong? The fiery and igniting nature of oregano spices up your life and thrusts you forward in any pursuit. Dispels feelings of weakness and hopelessness. Oregano summons Archangel Uriel, who governs illumination of the mind, giving you certainty in the wisest paths to follow. And so I just thought that was a great, a bit of a different take. When we think of oregano, the first thing I think of is pasta sauce and the long use of it being used in kitchens. And that made sense in my brain when I read it was an aphrodisiac as well, because the smells of really yummy food can definitely stimulate feelings of love and sexuality too. So, and I also just read that it was used historically for wedding crowns. It was also planted in graveyards. I believe it was by the Greeks. I can check on that, but planted in graveyards to help souls pass and be protected. And then I'm going to hand the mic to Mica, and she's going to talk to us about the energetic principles of oregano. And
yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
mm-hmm.
Can you see me? Because I can't see me.
I can see the top half of your face.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's better. Now we can see you.
okay. Does that work?
Oh, it went back.
Okay. Well, anyway, hello everyone. And oh, oregano. It was very clear. Oregano, you know, the constituent, it's pungent, right? It's bitey. There's a bite to it. And so the information came with such clarity. And here we go. If you want, and it's of course it's all connects with what you said and Dr. Rose, what you said, Ariana. But if you need courage, if you're having trouble trusting yourself, diffuse or use oregano. Even just wafting it underneath your nose when you're having low self-esteem times, use oregano, just waft it. So she said, and it was definitely a strong, you know, divine feminine energy. I know who I am. I am the queen. I'm a goddess. So you can embody that. I am the captain of my ship. I steer my destiny. I'm at the helm of my ship. I am clear about my decisions. I'm in alignment with my truth. This gives me protection to be free to be myself. It enlivens and it gives you vibrant energy. I am free to be myself again. Isn't that beautiful? I think we need that in these times. Something like that. That's all I got.
That's it. I love it. Oregano, short and sweet. I also wanted to speak to, there's an art piece here that I chose for oregano. And if you are listening to the podcast, it's of a wolf. So imagine a wolf with a very sweet face, closing its eyes. It's a side profile, and it turns into all these green plants and vines, and it looks kind of like fiery, but it's all green opposed to red. And I definitely felt like this embodied the spirit of oregano, this very protective, wise wolf. And so I just love that image for oregano.
I love that piece of art. It's perfect.
It's good. So now Will can't be with us today, but he recorded us a video. So I'm going to move to that in just a moment. But I did want to speak to what I found about traditional Chinese medicine uses for oregano, which is that oregano warms the lung and circulates lung qi, warms and harmonizes the middle warmer and resolves damp, warms and activates lower warmer, and breaks up stagnation and promotes menstruation. And there's in the 5-element affinity, affinity towards metal and earth. And so let me just transition into Will's video, which, I had it up here and now it is missing. So why don't we go ahead and we're gonna do things a little differently today. I'm gonna, oh wait, I see it. Hang on. Here's Will. Okay. And it's really great. There's this great smiling face that I see at the beginning of his video. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. It's not going to, well, let's see. I'll play it. Let's see if I can make it big for you guys. There we go.
Hello, visionary leaders, and Happy New Year 2024. My name is Will Wan. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. And today I'm here to talk to you about oregano. Oregano in Chinese medicine, the term is niu zhi. Niu means ox or cow. Zhi can mean different things, but one is to arrive, to be the most, to be something, and until. So when you combine the two characters in Chinese, niu zhi, that means oregano. But also more specifically, symbolically, what does that mean? It means that when the ox or the cow arrives on the scene, in ancient times in the fertile Yellow River Valley, that made life for farmers much more efficient and much more helpful to cultivate their crops. Because what did the ox do? It basically allowed them to plow the earth to really bring up that rich, fertile soil from many, whether it be the harder topsoil. It also allowed farmers to remove any obstacles, any kind of rocks, big boulders from a lot of the river deposits that would then allow them to put seeds in to allow them to harvest their crops or grow their crops and harvest them. So when you look at the term for oregano, niu zhi, means that there is this energy about oregano that has the ox, which is all about the liver, which is all about the spring energy, which is all about wood element. And especially when the wood element is in balance, you have a lot of flexibility, you have a lot of strength, you have think of a cedar bough that can bow and flex to meet whatever needs it is called to do. So essentially that ox can plow the earth and go to another line, plow the earth, go to another line, plow the earth. It is very resilient and has a really, if you take oregano and even inhale it directly, it has a very potent pungency, a lot of aromatic constituents. But in Chinese medicine, again, those types of actions would be pungent and it has a very bitter taste. And it also has a very sort of warm or hot sensation to them. If you've ever maybe just dab a little bit on your finger to the top of oregano and put it into the mouth, you'll have a very distinct flavor, which is very pungent, very bitter. It's very warming, but it's also then cooling afterwards. The actions of the oregano are to affect the earth element, which would be the spleen and the stomach. It also affects the heart and the bladder and the kidneys, as well as the liver. So again, when you look at these sort of properties and flavors and actions of an herb, you can gain in Chinese medicine a sense of what it can do. So by that bitter taste, it can clear heat out of the heart. It can clear heat out of the spleen and the stomach and the kidneys and the bladder. And that can sort of manifest as different sort of infections, if you will, of colds, flus. It can also help clear this dampness by drying any kind of dampness. Again, because that bitter nature helps to dry out things in terms of that damp quality. It can also move the qi. Again, if you take that orally into the mouth, that little bit of oregano, you'll definitely feel that dispersing sensation. that sort of aromatic compounds that really disperse any of that stagnation. So again, if you relook at the name in Chinese for oregano, that ox, that cow can plow and bring up the sort of healing qualities of the qi to the surface to disperse any stagnation, whether that be caused by dampness, whether that be caused by excess heat, whether that be caused by phlegm, will remove these obstacles and bring about healing. It can also deal with wind. When you look at, again, a wood element type of an herb, it can help clear and disperse excess wind out of the body. And in that, you think of how does it disperse that excess wind or excess qi stagnation. It can have this quality about it that can also nourish things while at the same time moving it out. So it's not just leading to any kind of if you're deficient, leading to further deficiency by dispersing things more. You can really get a sense that oregano and also its counter relative marjoram have a bit of a tonification quality to it, as well as helping to remove any excess out of the exterior, out of the qi layer of the body. So ultimately, what is this helpful for? A lot of lung issues, lung disturbances, coughing, can really benefit topically or aromatically. You can apply oregano to the bottom of your feet if you're really sensitive to the heat component of oregano. You can also look at how it can deal with any kind of colds, flu, with this cold flu season right now. I would recommend in the Symphony of the Cells, the infectious disease protocol, which has oregano listed as the second ingredient after frankincense. And why is that? Because oregano, I regard, again, the order of herbs as very important. We look at the top herb as sort of, again, this emperor or empress herb, the main herb, either the top one or two. And typically then follows the ministerial herbs and then the sort of driving herbs that guide the other herbs to wherever it needs to go. But since oregano is listed second, I would regard it as this emperor or empress herb. So it's a very important herb to look at. And so by applying this, even if you're by yourself, topically to the bottom of your feet, the Symphony of the Cell infectious disease can really help support your immune system, can really help decrease microbial loads that are going around in your body. So that way your immune system has more capacity, more strength to deal with things that's being affected right now. Other aspects of oregano that I want to talk to you about is that oregano has this really amazing antioxidant capacity. This is not necessarily a Chinese medicine perspective, but in Chinese cuisine, we typically add different herbs to foods to detoxify them. So you look at oregano, I would recommend using, if you're especially looking at Italian cuisine and using animal proteins, to mix in oregano to your animal proteins, because it's actually been found to neutralize a lot of the carcinogenic qualities that are being created when you heat animal protein and actually overcook it. That charred kind of quality, it will neutralize the carcinogens in that. It also adds, along with its other Italian herbs like basil, as well as thyme, and I especially like utilizing that in more sort of, again, sauces and so forth. But there's also in doTERRA a Italian cuisine blend that you can also try. So effectively, Chinese medicine regards oregano as a powerhouse to help clear out any stagnation that's affecting the exterior, that's affecting the qi layer, to really, again, dredge up this stuckness and allow the flow of qi, to allow the flow of the surface to bring back to balance. So that is my take on oregano. Take care.
Bye. So back to our other, here, let me stop this share. And then we are going to, at the end of our call, take questions and share stories, but let's finish up. I have a few recipes for you. So I think here they are. So as you have heard, let's see. Can you guys see that okay? My screen's doing something strange.
It's not sharing.
Okay.
No, we're not seeing.
Yeah, I thought that.
And just a reminder, we'll in the recording before we go into our Q&A.
Oh yes, great. I thought something was awry. Here we go. So, I'll just stay on here shortly, so I'm not going to hit full screen on here. But as you probably gathered from the call, I just cannot tell you how many times I've called on oregano for seasonal threats, and basically have felt so grateful in times where I haven't been able to go to a doctor, or maybe I was traveling, to mix up my own protective blend that I've just taken 3 times a day for 5 to 10 days and knocked out some pretty cruddy stuff. So if you would like to do that, what I recommend doing is 3 drops of oregano. I love blending it with the fish oil or with fractionated coconut oil. Olive oil will work too. And sometimes I take even that Italian oil blend, and I use it actually more for immune support than I even do for cooking. And you're going to do that in a veggie cap 3 times a day. So if you are in it, like if you are sick and you feel like, oh, I got some kind of something I need to get out of me, I recommend having the mindset of, even if you start to feel a little better, keep up with that oil protocol for 5 to 10 days, just so you make sure you push that stuff right out of your body. And then this was from Dr. Susan Lawton's book, and it's a chest rub blend, and you blend equal parts of oregano, melissa, and rosemary, which is a blend that Louise was talking about earlier too, with 1:3 ratio of fractionated coconut oil. And then you can put that on the chest. Do a little skin test just to make sure that's not too spicy, especially as you move. You can put it on your chest and move up towards the throat. So the directions are: use upward motion to apply blend from center of chest to the top of the throat. It might get a little tender up near the throat, so add more coconut oil if it feels hot. And I would recommend that too if you do the Symphony of the Cells. If that oregano feels too intense, just add some carrier oil to calm it down. And then also you can do that blend on the bottoms of the feet 3 to 4 times a day. And then another great use for oregano is for skin tags or warts. And you want to, if it's not in too sensitive of a place, put oregano on that area before bed, undiluted. If it's too sensitive, it's okay to go ahead and dilute it. And I also want to sing praise for our oregano touch. And that is going to be in a roller bottle. It's already with fractionated coconut oil. I know my skin is pretty sensitive to oregano, so I find that so wonderful because I can put it on topically and I'm not afraid it's going to burn as intensely. And of course, you could always make one of those yourself too, if you wanted to. So we're going to transition into our Q&A, but I just want to say who we are. So our calls, we have Mica Carew. She has a gorgeous book that we speak about often, and it is available. It's Plant Spirit Medicine, and that teaches you how to communicate and sit and work with the energetics of the plants. And you can find that on her website at livinggracemeditation.com. And Dr. Louise Rose, she's in Portland, Oregon, and has a lovely clinic here. You can connect with her at rosecabinetmedicine.com. Will Wan, who we just saw in video today, but we'll see next month and live, and you can connect with him at eliteacupuncture@gmail.com. He's located in Colorado and is a wonderful acupuncturist. And my name's Ariana Harley, and you can connect with me at arianaharley.com. I'm an emotional coach, artist, and essential oil educator. And before we drop off on the keynote, I wanted to read this quote. Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. And that quote makes me kind of choked up. It brings me to tears. I think it's a beautiful way to live by. I choose to live that way. And it is by Robin Wall Kilmer in Braiding Sweetgrass. And that's a book about indigenous wisdom and scientific knowledge and the teachings of plants, which I highly recommend. So we are going to now stop the recording and transition into Q&A and some shared stories.
Ariana, let me just take the floor for a moment before we open that up.
Sure thing.
It really warms my heart to be back with the community again. I'm so excited about this new year. It has a fresh, renewed energy, and I hope it is abundant and full of so much love and vibrant health for all of us. I want to invite you all to our call next week. We are going to talk about the MetaPower Recharge, which is the MetaPower electrolyte blend that will be released in February. Many of us sampled this during convention and we love it. It is so good. So we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into that next week. And I think that's it for now. So if you are listening to the podcast, have a wonderful day. We are going to end the recording now, but we're going to stay on for another 15 minutes for Q&A so we can have open, free dialogue about So let me just turn off the recording.
Well, let me say before you turn off the recording, for those listening, this is the juicy time. This is when you get all of us experts and talking and telling all of our tips. So please join us live.
Thank you, Josie. Okay, recording is stopping.